On today's ChurchTechCast.com Screencast show, navigation and the toolbars in ProPresenter 5. The Church TechCast Screencast show is generously provided for by viewers like you. Head on over to patreon.com/PaulAllenCliff. That's patreon.com/PaulAllenCliff to contribute to the show. For as little as $1 a month, you can help make these shows, all of the shows on the ChurchTechCast.com network, possible. And for a little bit more, there are some great gifts, including my books. So head over and join me in changing eternity today. Okay, so I've been thinking about just all the things in ProPresenter 5 and what I can bring to you to make it easier for you to do what you need to do in ProPresenter. And it occurred to me that I haven't gone over some of the more basics in navigation, so let's talk about that. By the way, before I do want to say that if you have any questions or comments, head on over to trinitydigitalmedia.com/contact. And you can leave a message there, or you can find all my other contact information in case you can't remember what I'm about to tell you, which is my email address, which is paul@trinitydigitalmedia.com, or my Twitter handle, Paul Allen Cliff, PaulAlanclif, or my phone number, 1-877-763-3246, 1-877-POD-ECHO. And you can also subscribe to the show. That would be helpful. If you know someone that this show would help, please tell them about it. Don't keep it all to yourself. Trust me, if you watch a copy of this show and they watch a copy of this show, I will make more copies. No problem. I have the technology. Okay, yeah, actually YouTube does. But still, I would love for you to share this show. It doesn't hurt whatsoever. It's actually helpful. The more people that watch, the better a show this can be. So head over to that show. Head over to youtube.com and subscribe to me there. If you want a short link to just find me directly, it's bit.ly/PaulTube. All lowercase, all one word. bit.ly/PaulTube. PaulTube, and you can go directly to my channel and subscribe from there. So let's hop into ProPresenter 5, shall we? Okay, so this is the interface that you're very familiar with. You can see my mouse right there. Right now I've got Angels We Have Heard on High up. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the toolbar. All these fun icons up here. You see them all? Yeah, so I don't know about you, but I never use this store icon. So how would I get rid of that? Well, it's actually pretty simple. You can't see it based on how I have the screen drawn, but right above the Pres in ProPresenter, at least with it small down the way that I have it, there's a button called, or the menu item called View. So you want to click on View, and that will drop down all these. Well, first off, these are all shortcuts that will take you to any of these things. So if there's one or two that you use more than others, memorize the shortcuts, because it's much faster to put in, say, Control S for stage display message. In a previous video, I couldn't find that. You learn something new every day. So, Control S, that's what this little caret doohickey is the control. The up arrow is Shift. So, song select would be Control Shift S. So, you can memorize these keyboard shortcuts, and that'll save you a lot of time. But also, don't forget this display pattern where you can turn on color bars, for example. And you see them right here, so that's helpful in calibrating your projector and everything like that. So let's go back to View, and I'm going to turn off the color bars. Actually, I think if I just click something else, that turns off the color bars. Okay, so now I'm going to go to Customize Toolbar. Now that's how we're going to get rid of this store icon. So the first thing that I can do is, if I want to get rid of something, I can just drag it down like this. So that gets rid of that store icon and gives me some more room up here for the things that I'm more likely to use, like volume, the output. Right now my output is off. Template. Let's say I don't use Song Select very often, don't use Bibles, because our pastor's assistant already types out everything, so I don't need that. But let's say that I want the stage display message. That's what I was looking, so I can just grab that in. Now let's say after I customize it, I actually find that I've screwed everything up, that I don't know where anything is. Well, no problem. Down here is the default set of icons, and I can just drag them all up here and take it back to where it is. So to remove it, click, drag down into this list. To add it, where's the one that stage display message. I can put it up there. See that? And if I never use messages, I could pull that down. So that's how to get that back to the default set. Goes just like that. So it's pretty simple. Now I can change the icon size. Down here you can't see it, but immediately under this new, there's a checkbox that says use small size. That's what I have checked. I can uncheck that, and all of a sudden the icons get much bigger. Helpful if you have trouble seeing those. But I'm going to go back to the small icon size. There's also immediately under the slides and backgrounds icon over here, there's something called show icon and text. That's the default. Icon only is just the icons. Text only is just the text. I prefer icon and text, so that's what I'm going to choose. And this is also kind of interesting. Let's say you need a little more space there. You can put a flexible space in there, and you can really do some organizing by putting in your space there to really put things together that go together. So, and I think I can, yeah, I can drag the flexible. Ooh, that's not what I wanted to do. Clicked on the wrong thing. I think there's still a flexible. Yep, there was. So, and there's one right there, and I can drag that. So the flexible space is like an icon, only you can't see it. So that helps you as you're organizing all these things. It would be my preference that you make it so that you don't have the little arrow off to the side. You can't see it, but if I had too many icons, there would be an arrow to the right of this volume icon that would say, hey, there's more icons. So try and just keep it to the stuff that you actually use and not stuff you think you may potentially use someday in the future, because you don't want important things to be hidden behind that arrow. And I suppose if there's a, well, we may potentially ever use Twitter, well, put that all the way to the side so that it hides behind the icon. So put your all your extra stuff all the way on the right below the ProPresenter icon, right before the ProPresenter icon itself, and that way you'll have them if you need them, but they'll be out of the way most of the time. Now there's if you go down to the bottom right hand corner, there's a done button. Again, you can't actually see that, but click on that and now this is all good to go. So I can do all the tweaking that I need to do there. So let's go back just to the basics. So again, I'm on a Mac. You can tell that by these buttons up here. On a PC they would be square. Here they're round. And if I go and I click on ProPresenter 5, which is immediately above here, you'll see all the choices I have. About ProPresenter, that tells you a little bit about version number. Helpful if you don't have it set to auto update, which I recommend you do not set it to auto update, because sometimes a new update will fix something but it will also break something that you really need. So keep an eye to that. There's send feedback, check for updates. Helpful again if you don't have auto update. Online store, I never use this, but if you need media, that's a good place to find it. Preferences, that's where you can tweak all the stuff here. Let's go to that real quick. So you'll notice that you have icons along the top, and these icons change what you see down here. So in general, this is just, they didn't know where else to put its stuff. Under display, that's how you format your stage display. Remember, SD stands for stage display. The output, which screen the output goes, and you change that by dragging and dropping. We talked about that earlier on another show if you haven't seen it. bit.ly/pro5tuts, short for tutorials. bit.ly/pro5tuts. Don't giggle. I see you giggling. Yes, it's not spelled T-O-O-T-S. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about tutorials. Okay. So that's how you can format your displays. So you can do that here. This is the main display screen, not the stage display. You'll notice when I click on stage display, nothing happens because you're not formatting that. And you have a button here to edit the system display settings if things have gone awry, the resolution is bad or something like that. Here is where you can change all your labels. So you have both colors and slide types. So you can have, some of these are ones that we've added ourselves, but you can have different categories, and within each category you can have different group colors, and if something is a verse, it will be in blue, and that will be everything that's highlighted as a verse, and so you'll move the whole verse as a whole. And I recommend, we've got this a little funky, I would recommend that the colors for your groups are different from the colors for your individual slides, and we'll talk about that on a future episode. Next we have DVDs. This is some helpful stuff if you play DVDs. You can actually rip DVD clips using Handbrake, which they show you how to install just by clicking that button. This is the live. Now, I would suggest you probably never use this. It's much better to run the output of ProPresenter to a switcher and then the input to the output of ProPresenter to the switcher and then out of the switcher onto the screen. If you input the video into the computer, you're going to get some latency, and that means the pastor's hand might move, and then a piece of a second later you'll see it move on the screen. Any more than about 3 frames of latency is really annoying, and maybe someday we'll talk about a good way to check latency, because we did that at my church when we did an upgrade, and I saw the latency, and so did the arts pastor, who's now the executive pastor, but she saw it as well. So we had to deal with that and figure out what was wrong. You can use these to sync between computers, or you can do like a bidirectional sync here, where if it changes on one computer, it updates on the other, etc. And there's also a cloud feature. So that's something that a lot of people are really happy about. To sync it through ProPresenter's cloud, it does cost a little money, but sometimes it's worth it to know that even if my computers crash and I lose all my data, it's safe somewhere else. Network, this is the control pieces of it. You can also run through, down here at the bottom you can't see it, but it says Planning Center Online, so you can check and get updates from Planning Center, and those can be either manual or automatic. And here we have some different features. This is how the video and image backgrounds are going to work. So for a background, I usually wouldn't have a portrait background on a landscape screen, so stretch to fill would normally work. For a foreground, scale to fit or scale to fill is probably what you're going to prefer. Video playback, you can choose the quality. If you render it anamorphic, and you can turn off the preview so that this doesn't show the video at the same time that the screen does. And that sometimes helps if you've got older hardware. And here we have the rest of the modules. I don't know why it's taken so long. There we go. So you have the alpha key module, which if you're doing work with at least a prosumer switcher, you very well may need the alpha key module. Edge blending you might need if you're using more than one projector to control those. Master control if you're controlling multiple computers over the network. Again, multi-screen, this is if you've got a dual or triple head-to-go box and you're doing 3 wide across the screen, so that's another module. And the SDI output, this is great if you're doing professional work. Instead of outputting HDMI or outputting VGA or DVI, you can output SDI, which is more native. And then you can't see it, but immediately below this is a button that says Demo Modules. So that's everything in the preferences. Registration will tell you who it's registered to, but it will not give the registration code, so make sure that you do not lose that. Services, I never use that. Empty cache, if things are cached and it's running a little slowly, you can do that. You can hide ProPresenter, hide all the other software, again helpful. And you can quit ProPresenter. If you do, by the way, this is the symbol for command or the little apple. Depending on the keyboard you have, it might say command or it might have a little apple icon. We actually call that command, so command, and this is option or alt. So those are basically your modifier keys. I talked earlier about Control and Shift. This is Option or Alt, and this is Command. Now, if you're seminary educated like me, I think this looks a little like a Hebrew Aleph. So Aleph became the A character first in Alt, which is a little word above Option on the Mac keyboard. It actually means Option, but that helps me remember it. Okay, so here we have, this is the file menu, and this is typically, it involves importing, exporting, etc. So that's where you can find most of that, but you can also find print here. So if you want to print your order, you can do that as well. Typically this is all text stuff under Edit, although you can copy and paste whole slides. Actions, this is helpful for clearing the slide. Basically it does the same thing as these icons over here. Logo, I would advise you change the logo from the ProPresenter logo to your church's logo immediately. So if something goes wrong, you can always bail to your church's logo. And you can show slides on stage display only from there. Again, here are all your shortcuts, your display patterns, and your customized toolbar, which we talked about a minute ago. This is formatting the fonts. You can see that you have some options. You can just show the fonts. Kerning, that's the space between letters, if I'm remembering correctly. Ligature, which I can't remember what that is. Baseline, is it normal? Is it superscript that's above the line? Subscript below the line? And you can tweak it even further with the raise and lower. Show colors, you can change the colors of the font. Now to text, this is, do you align it left, center, justify, which means each line takes up the entire amount of space so that they're all even. A lot of times people like that look. Align right. Show ruler will help you with measuring. Copy ruler, paste ruler. I don't actually use those, so maybe that's a subject for something in the future. Window, this is the window menu. The previous one was format if I didn't mention that. This is window. I can minimize, I can zoom, I can change the output window, I can close the window. Stage display window, I can go to Command 2 to see that. Stage configure, you'll notice that I have, well, I guess you can't actually see that in the window I have for this, but if you had more than one format, let's say you have a format that's band-centric and then you have one that's pastor-centric, you can swap between those fairly easily just by going to Window, Stage Display, and off to the right you would have your choices. Configure Stage Display we've dealt with before. Bring all to the front in case things are hidden. And the Help menu, so you can do a search under this to find ProPresenter Help for what you need to do. Over here we have this typically shows what's showing up on the main screen. This is the library down here. I have it minimized so that you can see the playlist, but you can see the library and you can do a search either on title or contents, and you can, so both of those will stay. So if you are going to sing a song and you can't remember if this is the title or the contents, you can search on both. Contents is going to take longer than title, and you need to click on something to deselect it. So by default it searches that, and you can filter this by what type it is. So if you've been really good and marked speaker notes as speaker notes and songs as songs, then you could search only the songs. We have not been very good at this, see? So That's not going to work. I think they're all presentations. Yep, they sure are. So you can categorize that, and we'll talk about that in a future show. Now let me bring this up to show you the playlist. Here we have playlists that have certain songs in them. These are both marked sample, but they need not be. They could be the week's date, they could be the series title, etc. I typically go year first, month, then day. So today I'm recording May 13th, 2014, so my number would be 14 because I don't think I'm going to make it to 2100. And definitely the computer isn't going to. So 1405 for May, the 5th month, 13 for 13, the 13th day. And in doing it that way, all the stuff from the same year will be together first, then all the stuff from the same month, and then ordered by date. So that's why I tend to do that. So that's very helpful as well. Here we have the list of all the songs in order. Now down here we have an icon that can change that from these thumbnails to a table. I don't like the table, but if you have trouble with seeing it and you don't like changing the magnification, which is to the right here, then you could absolutely go to this grid view with all the thumbnails or the list view, whichever works best for you. And then down here we've got our foregrounds, our backgrounds, our image bin, which you can make go away by clicking on this video image if memory serves. Yep. So you can toggle that. So let's say you're in a service and you've got all the backgrounds set and you don't need to tweak them. You can just make that go away so you have more real estate for the songs to play in. So that's just some basics of the navigation in ProPresenter 5 and formatting the toolbar. I hope that helps you, and I hope it helps your church as you're on your mission to go out and change eternity. Until next time, I'm Paul Allen Clifford with TrinityDigitalMedia.com.